We are live.
And in that time of dark, fuck off, Ed. Jesus Christ.
It's like the first
I'm,
episode.
I'm doing it anyway. And in that time of darkness, man became beast and beast became man. Shove it. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you as well. I've turned 21, as you can tell from the fresh-faced visage. I've actually... So our mutual friend, John Scrivens, took some really unflattering pictures of me the last time we were together, and it's encouraged me to grow up my beard a little bit more, which you can't see from the front, but I have having seen myself from the side, it's a slightly happier profile than I had previously. So, yeah, that's... There was a link to that in my head. I think it was I was going to claim to be like 11. And then I was like, but beard. That's obviously...
That kind of gives
difficult.
it away.
Perfect. Jordan says we can't hear you. I assume you can because no one else is complaining. But Jordan doesn't seem... He's not the sort to generally mess with me.
Someone will comment whether they can hear us or not.
Yeah, very quickly. No, mate, can't hear you. Why did I believe Ed there? God damn it. Jalib and Andrew, I appreciate you a lot. Thank you so much for confirming that
we need more Andrews in this world.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a lot of the regular faces here. Glad to see you all. We've got Callum's here, Andrew's here, Jordan, Edward as well. Jonathan says happy YouTube birthday as well. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that. I think it's literally an entire year. I think it was the 22nd of April 2024, so I think it's lined up quite nicely. I'm just about to go check the Social Blade because that'll tell me when the account was created. But yeah, no, it's been a year, and we're
podcasting for a year.
We have been podcasting for a year, and we're going to be that rat bastard. I expect better from you. You're always so nice to me, and here you are giving me squeak.
You have agency.
Do we get cake in a party bag? Jordan, I'm disappointed in you. We'll talk about this later. Yeah, so we're just gonna sort of shoot the shit and reminisce and give you some of the deep lore as well. I was thinking about what I wanted to say, and I think the reason that the channel came to be is an interesting story for anyone who has followed. So that's something that we're going to go into. Well, I'm going to go into as well. William says congrats on the year. Thank you very much, William. Appreciate that. So, but first of all, before we do that, I think it's a good time to show off some lovely models that Lewis has painted, because we didn't actually get round to doing it last time because he sent them to me not long before we went live, and
we were so efficient.
Well, in the like the going into live mode, I get pretty locked in, so I don't look at my phone or anything like that. So let me just pan over, and we can very quickly show you some lovely stuff that Lewis has painted. Obviously, our resident Vampire Counts painter. Do you want to tell everyone what this model is? God, that has very primary school teacher energy.
Yes, miss. We'll do immediately. What's coming up first? That's the question. Aha, I see it. Excellent. So this is... I'm on the same delay as always because this stupid streaming software. This is progress on my undead Bretonians. They are being realised. It is happening. It's happening slower than anticipated, but it's still happening.
Yep.
So this is my Count's as Duchess on Pegasus Knight. I think this is my favourite model I've painted so far since returning to the old world. If I do say so myself, I think it's come out really, really nicely. I'm really happy with how the skin looks. I think the armor's dark, but you can still it's still got enough contrast on there. You pick it out, and just that little splash of red as well. If I'm assessing my own painting there, I'm really happy with it. So yeah,
it's definitely good. I like it. And we can show the other one as well. Oh, just leaking DMs. All right, there we go.
Excellent. So this is... I finished another 6. I'm starting to call them Whites of the Realm because I am a hilarious boy. I've got 12 of them done now. So these are Black Knights, but they'll be Knights of the Realm for the Bretonians. Again, really happy with how they've come out. They're a bit more sort of plain than the characters are, just so you can try and get them done a little bit faster. But that takes me now to... Yeah, that's 12 done. I've got 18 in the list completely because I just like the triangle formation. But 18 of those list and a big unit of 10 Grail Knights and 2 characters. So I am working on a mounted character. I'm working on the old White King model because I quite like him. Well, the new one is amazing. I do quite like the old one because I've got old Graveguard and stuff like that. So
yeah,
and these are the older Black Knights. So the gonna have that mounted character. I don't know if I've got him on the list, but I want to paint him anyway. So I've got him to do 6 more knights and another one of those Pegasus proxies. And then I'll have 2,000 points of Bretonians undead finished. So coming to probably a Saffron Walden Club night near you soon. And then I'll think about taking them potentially to an event.
Hell yeah.
Although I'm still in the position where I don't feel like I've done everything I want to do with just the vampire rules yet.
Yeah.
And the Black Knights in vampire counts, you could put them in a big unit, but you can't put them in lance formation. So they look a lot cooler in lance formation. So I do want to do an all-mounted army. So it might need to be Bretonians and just suck up the fact that the rules are different, and I need to remember that I can actually run away. Which will be weird to see the Black Knights turning around and running away.
Well, you're playing an army that really doesn't want to run away because you lose your Blessing of the Lady if you do so. So it's pretty much the same, I would say. You don't have too much to change there. But yeah, lovely models. I'm a little envious of the fact that out of the two of us, you are the one who actually bothered to get the undead Bretonians together, despite me having wanted to do it for a year as well. But I just haven't.
Yeah, I feel like we
it,
had the idea
so...
at the same time, and
yeah. I think independently, a lot of people had the idea, and very few people have done it. And then every time I see someone who has done it, I go, "That does look pretty damn good." I am envious of that. But yeah, looking good. Good progress there. So we can go back to big head mode. And before we kick into it fully, it seems like we're a little bit slow on the being picked up this evening. So if you have joined and you haven't already liked the video, would appreciate if you do that. Feel free to join the Discord down below if you want to support the channel. You can become a member on the options there. There are some VIP sections that you can join in if you like.
Congratulations on a year.
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. Yeah. Let's get talking. And also hello to everyone else. Oh, that's something else I was going to say. I was going to be at the Warhammer World event. I'm no longer going to the Warhammer World event, but I am planning on coming and socialising at both the TSN Arena and Warhammer World this weekend. So do feel free to pipe up on Discord or in chat. Let me know if you're going to be there. I think the aim, I haven't arranged anything with Pash yet, but I think the aim is probably go for dinner with that lot on the Saturday evening after you all finish game 3. So yeah, gonna see how that goes. Should be good, and looking forward to catching people this weekend.
Yeah, how many people are at each event?
So TSN will be 24 because that's the cap, and Warhammer World, I assume there's like 60 or so, something like that. It'll be a good event.
It's a big event, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Are they letting legacy factions in yet, or am I still banned?
The main reason that I initially requested a refund, one of the refund reasons, is half the models I own are 3D prints because they hadn't released the High Elf models that they needed to. And the last 2 armies I played, Skaven and Dark Elves, are not legal. So I was like, well, I could potentially try and borrow some models, which I did line up in case the refund didn't go through. But I didn't really want to go down that line. Or I could play my Orcs and Goblins, which I don't have, 120 Night Goblins, so didn't really want to do that either way. But
yeah, it's interesting because I think I'm sure everybody has also listened to the Squarebase content where they talk about the survey that they did, their big old world survey, and there was massive results in favour of including the legacy factions in the game, and that people were saying that Games Workshop should include them. It's not necessarily fair that they're not included, and they would be put off going to events that don't have legacy factions in.
Yeah.
Yet Warhammer World sells 60+ tickets every time it's on. So it's interesting how that kind of what people say compared to what they do might be different. Assuming that those 60 people filled out the survey and like legacy factions, maybe they don't. But it's interesting. I don't know what the reasons are, but interesting thought.
Thank you, that rat bastard.
Rat emoji, ulations.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate that. So let's start from the beginning. So I think I have talked about this a little bit, but basically, the way the channel came about in the first place was about 4 years ago. they announced that they were going to bring back Warhammer Fantasy. In fact, no, let's go back further. I used to play Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40,000. I stopped playing Fantasy when I was like 16, 17, something like that. I think it was just after Island of Blood came out. Good at playing games as a teenager. It did mean that I had more flexibility and I wasn't as heavily punished if I messed up with my positioning. But took a break from the hobby, went to university, stopped playing at 18, you know, did the classic, got old enough to go out and drink, and you know, just dropped the things that I'd seen as my childish hobbies, and then I moved to Nottingham at 19 for university. Oh, Lewis is gone. It's fine, I'll just keep talking and add him back in. There he is. So during the time that I was in Nottingham at university, didn't play Warhammer at all. What a waste. Warhammer, Nottingham being the mecca of Warhammer, feels like a real missed opportunity, but it's probably for the best.
All that free time at university as well.
Well, I played a lot of League of Legends, which I do not recommend. It's not something that I'd recommend. I played a lot of Counter-Strike as well, which I do recommend. I had a great time.
I played a lot of Dota at university. Norwich was very much the Dota scene rather than the LoL scene. Don't know why, but it was good fun. We had a little team and everything.
Yeah, we played in the Newell, the online league for League of Legends between universities. We never did particularly well, but it was fun. No. I really enjoyed. I bet you're still silver. It's funny, I've actually come back to playing, and I'm dueling with a friend who is not particularly high ranked. So I peaked at plat, but I never played all that much rank. I think I was an okay player. I wasn't particularly special, but right now I'm in bronze, which means that no, it's great because it means every game I play, or like 80% of the games I play, I'm the player on my team that has the most impact, as determined by those ranking sites where you can look at and see how you did in each game. So it's not something that I play seriously. It's something that I turn my brain off and try and wreck kids on. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. So took a long break, about 8 years, and I walked back into Nottingham Games Workshop, and at the time it was a year into 8th edition 40k, and I was like, oh boy, I can't wait to see my two favourite children, Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Fantasy. Oh no, one of my children has died. I was a deadbeat dad, a truly terrible father, and in the 8 years since I'd left, at some point, Warhammer Fantasy was dead, and it was replaced with Age of Sigmar. I wasn't around for the death of Warhammer Fantasy and the beginning of Age of Sigmar, so I don't have the real bitterness that some people do. But you
missed the model burning.
Yeah,
you missed the bonfires of elves,
which is a dumb thing too. But people make irrational emotional decisions, and you know what?
Many good video as well.
I've done those before, not burning models, but irrational emotional decisions. So I never got into Age of Sigmar. To me, I was like, well, if I'm playing 40k, it's just a copy of 40k, but worse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't like the double turns, so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna play 40k, and I had a good time with that. Played 40k, played some Warhammer World tournaments, had a good time with that. Came third at my first Throne of Skulls, which was not it wasn't through play skill. It was because my army was painted
nice people.
In like well enough to get a couple of votes. I'd done just like some. I think I'd literally painted it with washes over silver because I used to enjoy painting like that, and it was before contrasts, so that was vaguely novel. So I got a couple of like, oh, this army's nice votes. I got some sportsmanship votes as well, which is nice, and then I won I think 3 out of 5 games, which was I was happy with that. Obviously, Throne of Skulls, the level of competition is generally a bit lower, so it's not particularly exciting. But yeah, that was great. I had a good time with that, and I think I wonder if I would have got the bug for competitive Warhammer anywhere near as hard if I didn't win a trophy at my first event. And it's a hell of a trophy. I don't think I've got it to hand, no. I used to keep it in that corner simply because that's where I put it and just never got round to moving it. But it's a big resin, throne on skulls. It's great. Yeah. It's a fantastic trophy. I was like, wow, I'm gonna do more of this. And I played more. Then obviously lockdown. And after lockdown, started going to other non-Games Workshop tournaments, and that's where I started playing like actually competitively and starting to get better at the game. So that was a lot of fun.
Because that would have been before Games Workshop brought out their set terrain sets and stuff like that for their own events, didn't they? I don't think they had
back in 8th edition, terrain was not a thing. Not really a story for today. Maybe I'll tell it another time. But me and my friend Rob, we played doubles at Warhammer World back in 8th edition, and we just sat down a couple of times and came up with the mathematically correct list where you could just gun down your opponents. It was funny, but you know, we've already done too much 40k talk. We're what 15 minutes in, at least 4 minutes of it have been talking about 40k, so we can move on from there. So, joined a team. In fact, first year was me, my friend Jack, and my friend Rob, and we were trying to do well on the ITC rankings. Not seriously, but we were like, oh, you know, this is great. It's cool to see how we're doing as a team. I can't even remember what our team name was, but unfortunately, you needed 10 scores to max out your scores, and there were only 3 of us, and each player could only contribute 3 scores. So I can't remember the exact number. I think we were the top scoring team that only had 9 scores, which is very, you know, best at riding a unicycle backwards while patting yourself on the head. It's not an achievement that should matter, but we were like, oh yeah, this is great. We're doing pretty well. We couldn't get any of our friends to go to a single event to come and get us that 10th score, which was a real shame because it would have been nice to see where we ended up. But yeah, so that was cool. That was fun. And then Rob, how dare he, was having a child. So he wasn't going to be playing.
Just unacceptable.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I kind of want to do better on the rankings. So submitted... you know, I just basically had played against some people at a team, yada yada, joined them, had a good time for a year. The Savvy Submariners, can't do my words, Savvy Submariners, and then after a year left them and joined 6++.
Say that 5 times quickly.
Yeah, apparently I can't. And part of joining 6++ was, I don't think it was even necessarily mentioned when I asked if I could join, but they asked if I wanted to do content with them, which I did. I thought that was going to be fun. So I went from putting all of my focus into playing competitively into doing a little bit of content, which I turns out really enjoyed doing. That was a lot of fun. So did that for, I think it was about 18 months. And during this time, or maybe even before then, they've announced that Warhammer Fantasy is coming back. And in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, that's cool. It'd be fun to play that again. Not expecting to do it seriously. Come to 2 years ago now. No, I guess a year and a bit ago. Yeah. God, time flies, eh? A year and a bit ago. And the Warhammer Fantasy drops, and there was loads of interest within the team, and we're like, oh, let's do like a Tale of X gamers, Tale of 6 gamers, where we all do a little bit of hobby, we talk about how we're getting on, and it's not like going to be our main game, but we're going to do it casually. And that was how I was intending to approach Old World. At the same time, there was a shake-up internally, and I don't want to paint this as if anyone is a villain. It was the way things changed were better for the team, but I feel worse for me. So I had been for like a 6 or 7 month stretch. I was in the most live streams and the most videos, and there were some internal rearrangements to get more people in, which was a good thing. Be clear, this is a good thing. This is not me being salty, but I just felt like, oh, I've been, you know, putting my heart and soul into this, and I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere with it. And I kind of wanted to create my own thing as well. So a combination of fantasy coming out, but no one else really, or not many people having a big level of interest in it. Obviously, Lewis, with me here, did have a big level of interest with it, which is why he's been here so much over the last year.
You can't get rid of me, Ed.
I don't want to. Like having you on. You know, every 2 weeks, that's as much as I can stand you.
The world's not ready for much more, Ed, let's be honest.
Yeah, but a combination of that took me to the point where I said to Chris, the team captain, I was like, hey, can I have a chat with you? Just laid out, I was like, I want to do my own thing. I'd like to still be on the team, but I want to give my own channel a shot, and I want to do Old World. I thought that's going to be fun. So the conversation, I think, was quite funny, looking back, because he was it was like talking to your manager at work about doing a new project, basically. In that it was very professional. He was supportive, but also had concerns. So he was like, you know, what do you think you can do? Do you think you can put out the content? Yada yada. And I was like, you know, here's the numbers that I've been doing over the last whatever. This is the amount of effort I've been putting in. I feel like, you know, I'm nuts enough to be driven enough to do what was at the time going to be a fully solo project. And the funny thing that sticks in my mind was we were talking about a goal, and he said, you know, what's your goal? Aiming to get 1,000 subscribers in a year. I was like, oh, I bet I can do that in 6 months. Obviously, smashed that target. So really happy about how things have gone. But that was the sort of impetus to make what was not called Close Order at the time. God, what was the initial channel name?
Old World Plus Plus.
Old World Plus Plus. Obviously a play on 6++, and then after doing more independent research, because previously I hadn't edited any videos, I just sent them over to one of the people who did the editing, and I hadn't had to do keywords or anything like that. I just had a vague understanding of how things worked. I, from that point, then had to do loads of research into how to make this work on my own, and one of the things I learned is that numbers and symbols are really bad search SEO, search engine optimization. Basically, if you want to make something that's findable, don't put numbers or symbols in, or words that could be, you know, anything else. And then we had some chats about what the name should be. I was talking to you, I was talking to Scrivo as well, and I wanted to call the channel Troll Horde, but there were negative connotations to that, so ended up not going with it. And I think you came up with Close Order, actually. I think you came up with the Close Order podcast, and I was like, well, this is just good. Let's just do this as the name of the channel. Yeah. So we reworked it to that, and the Close Order channel symbol is something that was paid work done by John Scrivens. I should put his link in the description as well. I'll do that after the stream is over if you're watching this back. But yeah, that is basically how we came to be.
And here we are, a year later.
A year later, yeah. So that's my sort of waffle about how we got started. What was it like for you at the start of the game?
Yeah, so I was, as soon as they announced that it was coming and we started to get a more defined date of the return of the game, I knew immediately that I was playing vampires, and this was before that they said there were going to be legacy factions and not legacy factions.
That's rough.
So I'd already committed in my mind, and as soon as that kind of legacy faction thing was announced, I was pretty.
He was pretty.
Thinking we didn't have base sizes, so I was thinking about building stuff without bases and things like that. Oh, hello.
you cut out for a bit there.
Dying this evening.
You seem to be back now, though.
Yeah, so I started making skeletons, and they said that legacy factions were going to be a thing, and I was very angry with Games Workshop, as I tend to be. But then it became clear that the community that I was engaging with were not going to accept that as an outcome. Legacy factions were still going to be part of the game. They were going to get rule set from Games Workshop, and actually the majority of event organizers, the majority of players, the majority of the community were going to make sure that they still had a place in the game. And because of pretty key factions like Skaven, like Vampire Counts, Elizabeth, they're pretty integral to the whole story of fantasy, and for them to be cut out, I don't think anyone's going to accept. So that gave me the impetus I needed just to continue and belligerently build my vampires, even though Games Workshop were telling me, do not buy vampires, don't buy any Age of Sigmar stuff. It's unacceptable to buy Age of Sigmar stuff and use it for old world.
Yeah. This is only for people who already own these armies. No one else.
Exactly. Why would you buy Age of Sigmar stuff and use it in old world? You madman.
Absolutely nuts.
And yes, obviously, as you say, we started doing the Tale of 6 Wargamers, I think it was at the time, which very rapidly became the Tale of 5 Wargamers, Tale of 4 Wargamers, Tale of 3 Wargamers, and then Tale of Ed and Lewis doing war games.
Shout out Alex Chancellor, who
he has finished his ogres.
After we dropped down to 2 players, did come in and be like, yeah, I can record you some content, despite not having done, I don't think he'd done anything for the channel, or maybe he'd been in one thing.
No, we've started doing some 40k lore stuff together, so we do a little bit of that channel. I need to book in another video with him actually at some point for the 40k channel, but yeah. So but then when we're started, aren't we? And then you took the decision that you were going to set up a separate channel. I think we probably found as well that mixing in old world stuff amongst the 40k channel just meant people weren't seeing what.
Yeah. So what he's saying is that people weren't seeing the old world stuff because we had had it mixed with the 40k stuff, and if you got it all on one channel, just the way that YouTube search algorithms work is it doesn't really show
Yeah.
up because you get shown to the people who don't want to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think.
Yep, you still here?
Oh, hello. Oh
Yep.
God. You just keep disappearing, and I'm like, am I talking to anybody,
That's
or am
fine.
I still here? Yeah. So we basically just ended in a position where we need to set up on our own, as you say, and you went ahead with it. You had that conversation with Chris, and you were like, "Do you want to be involved?" And I was like, "Yes," because I think since it's been announced, since I've started, my passion has all very quickly switched to old world. And I find it difficult to do things that I'm not passionate about.
Yeah.
And I find like because running the events business, having a full-time job, all the other things that life throws at you, you've only got a limited amount of time to spend on things, and putting loads of time into something that you don't necessarily enjoy as much, I think is difficult. And actually to sit here every other week and record content has been really good fun. I've really enjoyed it, and met some amazing people already. The Discord community, for example, they closed all our Discord. There's only over 700 of you mad bastards now, and it's been amazing to be part of that and to see that grow, and to see that it is possible in today's day and age of complete nightmares and madness, that it is possible to have online discourse that isn't everybody shouting at each other.
Yeah.
And obviously on the main Discord, which is open to everybody, that everyone's talking about their factions and stuff like that. That's pretty chilled. But when we get into the VIP Discord, where the paid members go, please do pay. It's all good. People are discussing everything. There's political discussions in there, but it's not. And immediately you start seeing someone complaining about Conservatives or Labour or whatever, and you just think, oh God, we're going to have to shut this down or start deleting messages and kicking people out. But actually, it's also respectful. So it's kind of given me a new bit of hope about the world somewhere, that we're able to actually have discourse with people that are like mind or different mind in lots of situations, and actually just get together and enjoy the hobby and enjoy each other's company. So that's been really good.
Absolutely. It has been great. So when you started with the vampire counts, how long was it before you played a game between wanting to start and actually starting?
Ooh, it was probably a good few months, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And there's a Discord question to be asked later about what you would have done differently. I should have picked a quicker scheme. Frankly, I'm really happy with how the vampires look. I think they've come out really nicely. I think they look good on the tabletop, and I am really happy with the army. But if I'd have picked something that was easier and faster and just accepted it wasn't going to be that good quality, I could probably have started playing within the first few weeks rather than having to wait months and months. I vaguely remember the first few podcasts were a lot of me showing stuff that I'd built and painted, but not a lot of me reporting any games I'd played.
Yeah.
And I certainly hadn't gone to any events or anything like that. So I would have very much liked to have done that a bit faster. But that's answering a question from later.
Absolutely. For me, I think I've definitely vaguely mentioned it before, so I'll not go into too much detail. But my path was, I wanted to start with, because we were picking armies for the Tale of X Gamers. So I started off by saying I was going to play, I think I said I was going to play Ogres first. Then I changed to High Elves.
Yeah.
Printed an entire High Elf army, played 2 games of it in person, and went,
Didn't like it.
the only thing that does anything is my dragon. I don't want to play this, which is ironic given how I play now. And then changed from that to Chaos Dwarves, I think it was, and realised that I was really bad at fantasy, and playing an army that was super slow was not a good way to learn a game that I'm already bad at. And then swapped, I think, back to Ogres, and then by the time I got round to collecting an army in person for my first actual in-person tournament, I'd settled on Orcs and Goblins, which, as first armies go, I think Orcs and Goblins are great. If you're not bothered about playing the cutthroat competitive army, and you want things that you could take to a tournament and win 3 games with, Orcs and Goblins, you can play them in multiple different ways. You can play Nomadic War, you can play Troll Horde, you can play a more static list. There's a lot of stuff you can do with Orcs and Goblins and still be pretty happy about it. Whereas something like Skaven, it's a lot harder to just plonk on the table, and you have to play some more skew lists. Whereas Orcs and Goblins, you can be like, I guess it is skew, but it's thematic skew. Troll Horde
Yeah.
being like, here's all my trolls, and that's just feels right. Whereas me going, here's 40 odd gutter runners feels a bit.
And would you say it was the experience with your high elves at the start that just highlighted immediately the issues with infantry in the game? Because I feel like I've got a lot of skeletons in my cabinet that I spent a lot of time painting, that I've painted them, put them in the cabinet, and they've never come back out again.
Yeah. I think that definitely an aspect of it. So
They're ready for when the balance patch comes. There are more skeletons to hit the
soon,
tabletop.
I didn't understand what was going to be good from the off because I was so far removed from fantasy that dialing in my brain from 40k to where we are in the old world took a while. It really took a while. So I was looking at what was in the book and I was like, oh wow, ogres get so many attacks, and now that, you know, I in my head impact hits and monstrous infantry were going to be busted OP. I was like, oh, I can't wait to play ogres. Turns out ogres one of the worst armies in the game. Really missed that in terms of what was good. But yeah, no, I didn't really understand what was going to be good or bad. Like obviously all the people, you know, content creators who have played a lot of fantasy have been very vocal about how they understood immediately that dragons were going to skew the game. And I'm not saying that as in I don't believe them, but I just had a very different experience. I kind of muddled through the first sort of 6 months before I really got my head around what it was to play semi-competitively. And the goal was never really to come in and be super competitive. The goal was to come in and have fun, because that was something that I had been missing from 40k. We were a year into 10th edition, or like 8 months into 10th edition. And I had found 10th edition 40k really dull. I even took a 2-month break. I won an RTT with Eldar when they were super broken on release, and then I stopped playing for, I think it was like 8 weeks, and I stopped making content as well, because it just wasn't fun to me at all. So it was really fun to get into a new game and rediscover it, and instead of immediately being like, how can I make this the most competitive I could be? How do I, you know, go straight into I want to smash every game? Just learning it through playing lots of different things, playing different playstyles. And I think that is part of what made the initial content creation really fun. I enjoyed that aspect of it, and it was cool to discover a new game and play through that way.
Yeah, it's quite nice to suck at something once in a while, isn't it? Like first picking up the rules and just getting battered and being like, oh, it's been a while. Because I think once you've kind of understood how the game functions, it's very rare that you get battered. You'll just compete in games and against the majority of players, unless there's a big skill difference, you'll probably keep it quite close, and it's relatively easy to do that. I love it. I play 40k quite regularly as well. I still really enjoy it, but yeah, it's with Old World, it's been really great to actually just be the idiot again and not know what's going on, and be learning as you go, making mistakes in games that you can then visually see yourself not making in future games. You can catch yourself and go, actually, I did that last time. It didn't go well. So I'm going to play it this time, do it this way this time. And then seeing an improvement. So it's been quite nice to kind of start from scratch and build your way up. Because same as you, I didn't play. As soon as they ended Fantasy, I didn't carry on playing 8th edition or 9th Age or any of the previous versions of the game. So I just stopped completely and went straight to 40k. So actually to come back and effectively start from scratch, because I probably, the same as you, I would have been sort of 15, 16 probably last time I picked the game up, so probably not in a position where I was playing any particularly good level or taking on the rules at any kind of serious level. So just start going to events and things like that's been really good.
Yeah, excellent, cool. So that was sort of the intro, and then journey through. For me, obviously starting the channel this time last year, I had already been playing for, I guess, three months. I think it took me about a month to play after the rules came out. You know, I spent a lot of time poring over. One of the things that I looked at that I was like, this seems broken, was Empire Outriders with repeater handguns. In my head, I was like, these are just mathematically not okay. And again, that was me not really understanding how many overlapping debuffs that you get for shooting, especially for shooting black powder. It's not anywhere near as good as I thought it was going to be, but it's interesting to see the things that I thought were good not be, or to pan out to be okay later on down the line. Obviously, you can do some interesting stuff with Outriders in the Nuln detachment. So you just
got a place.
Yeah, so I'd identified that they had the potential to be good, but they definitely weren't super killer at the time. Empire did struggle a little bit. So by the time I'd created the channel, I was playing Orcs and Goblins, and the first video outside of a podcast, we maybe uploaded a podcast first, but then I think the first actual video other than that was the what I've learned from my first tournament, which a couple of people have talked to me about actually, and said, this is the first video I watched of you, and it was nice to have someone not claim to know everything, and actually also play games. So that's something that's hammered home as like what I want to do. I want to tell you about the things that I'm doing and what I think is good, but from a position of someone who actually plays the game. And obviously I've been playing the game a lot now at this point, so I feel like I've got more knowledge to back up what I've been saying. Steve says, always watching videos, sometimes several times when I paint my old world army. Thank you so much, Steve. That's really
a repeat watcher.
Yeah. Glad to see you're a year old. Hopefully many more to go. Yeah, I hope so. It's been great. I'm enjoying it. I am currently only doing Warhammer stuff, so I'm finding it difficult to compartmentalize. But that's less about the channel and more about the work situation, other than anything else. But I'm really looking forward to, like, all the new releases are still so hype. I'm really looking forward to Beastmen, looking forward to Wood Elves, looking forward to Cathay, looking forward to the other one, and
Wood Elves.
Yes. Count says your improvement is astounding. Thank you so much. It is nice to feel like there was stuff to do, like, because as I've mentioned, I'd never done any video editing the first time around. I mean, I don't think I do anything particularly exciting or interesting, but I feel like I've got it down to a point where when I started, I was putting in probably about 30 to 40 hours a week because I was doing a lot of pre-recorded stuff. One of the nice things about streaming is it's a lot more on the off the cuff. You can
on the hoof.
Yeah, you can talk about what you want to at the time, but also it's a lot less. You don't have to record, cut down. You don't have to then edit, upload. All of that stuff ended up taking me quite a while. I was putting in basically full work weeks on top of having a full work week and also commuting to work. So definitely feel like I've got it more nailed down now than I did this time last year. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, your point about the being hyped for the new releases, it's something I want to pick up on. Maybe give Games Workshop a few flowers. I think they probably were in a position where they could have released the rule book and the Force of Fantasy and whatever the other one is, and probably just gone, here's your rules, now fuck off.
Every edition of Warhammer Fantasy before this one.
Exactly. I don't think they had. I think there was probably enough content there. They didn't need the arcane journals. They didn't need to push anything else.
Yeah.
So to their credit, that ongoing support that they've done for the game, obviously we've had a couple of FAQs of different qualities, but those arcane journals coming out, whether you think they make the factions more powerful or not, I know there'll be Empire players that are saying it's not made their faction any better, but it has given factions more variety, more flavor. There are multiple different ways to run multiple different factions that are all sort of similarly of a level. And really, I don't think there was a world where I expected them to have near enough all of the factions released within a year. I mean, okay, it's going to be best part of 18 months, really, actually, by the time everything comes out. But that's nine mini codex over a year.
Yeah.
And for them to come through and release an entirely new faction in Cathay, it shows there's a level of support for the game behind Games Workshop, which gives me confidence that it's got some longevity, assuming we're all supporting it and enjoying it, which I didn't know would happen. Because you wonder sometimes, because it was never going to be one of the main games. It's always going to be a specialist design studio. They have a lot of other games in their roster that they need to keep maintaining. I think there is definitely a world where this rulebook, an arcane journal, a rulebook and the faction rules, and then you're just left to it.
Yeah,
definitely a world where that could have happened. And the fact that didn't, I think, small flowers for Games Workshop there in this year.
I'm generally happy with what they've been doing with Old World, honestly. And obviously we've heard the scope of the project has changed, and that happened pretty early on when they saw how well things were going, which is great. I appreciate that. It's good, and I'm just, the only real complaint I have is how fucking long it's taking them to balance to rebalance the game. And I'm okay with the state of the game as it stands. Not that I think that it's perfect, or that the underplayed armies, the legacy faction shouldn't get a boost, but just comparing it to other states of balance within Warhammer, this is a pretty well balanced game by classic Games Workshop standards. So coming into it with tempered expectations, I feel pretty okay about how Old World is. And anything that they do to improve it, I'm obviously going to be in favour of. So that's good there.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, it's been talked about, but I think there's a world out there, and I happen to personally believe this, that they've deliberately made monsters and ridden monsters and ridden characters more powerful, so that newer players or people who haven't played before can build an army very quickly. I remember with the vampires, once I got my Ghana Zombie Dragon and a Terrorgeist and realised that was best part of 1,000 points, I've done half an army in 2 models. And actually, for me to get an army on the tabletop, it probably would have taken me another 2 or 3 months if I had to build another 100 skeletons. So I think there's a world where they've done that to actually get the game as accessible as possible very quickly, so that you don't have to commit to painting 200 models to even play a basic game of Warhammer. Now, obviously, at what point do you switch that? Clearly, they've waited a while. I mean, they're watching the discourse, aren't they? So they would have known for at least 6 to 8 months now. People have been whinging the dragons are too powerful. So they're not stupid. They'll be seeing that and they'll be aware of that.
I'm not sure I'm going to give them that much credit, given some of the responses we've had, the very limited responses we've had, where they've been like, "Oh, dragons are a problem. Just shoot them with 2 cannons." I don't know if they intended the state of the game to be quite as it stands this way. But I know, or I should know, I believe from discussions I've had that the aim was to make, big, cool centerpiece models a part of the game, whereas in previous editions, obviously they weren't. The problem is, as always with Games Workshop, and this has been my complaint about them for as long as I've been thinking about how the games are unbalanced, is that they don't understand maths. They just simply do not sit down with a calculator and go, is this going to be too good? If I have a T6 monster with 3 saves, is that too good? The answer is yes. And I think it doesn't frustrate me as much as it maybe frustrates other people, because this has been a problem that Games Workshop has had for years and years and years. 8th edition was mathematically unbalanced. 9th edition. 10th, I think, is closer to better now. The start of 10th edition was horrendous. You could just,
For 40k, yeah.
Yeah, the Wraith Knight, you could just pick up 10 model squads of Terminators, which is a very tanky unit. That's 30 wounds, and you could just go, haha, I've rolled 4 6s. Sucks to be you.
Yeah, goodbye.
So they don't necessarily understand the maths of the game as well as I would like them to. But, yeah. Anyway, I think there was.
You've got to think as well.
Monsters decent, at least.
Yeah, definitely. They're making a game that is effectively a similar size to Age of Sigmar and 40k.
Yeah.
But they're doing it with a team that's significantly smaller than I imagine the 40k team is.
Yes.
They're doing it with significantly less marketing space, less production space within the wider Games Workshop calendar of everything that they need to produce. It's very much Old World needs to fit around 40k and Sigmar. Old World can't define the pace of releases. They're very much part of a much larger structure rather than leading it.
Yeah.
So they have to fit into all of those things. And with a smaller team, I guess it is more difficult to keep on top of everything.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to note. So I know. So when you're talking about 40k, when people are thinking about how balanced that game is, people would be looking at it by win rate. So they'll be saying, actually, every faction should be somewhere between 45% and 55%. That's your kind of Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
I haven't checked Old World rankings recently, so in the last couple of weeks, and I'm not going to do it now because my internet is just about clinging on.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to look at that now and see what those win rates are. How far out are some of these factions from each other? I appreciate there's internal balance within the factions that also needs to be considered with things like dragons and stuff like that. But actually, overall, you can probably take a large chunk of factions and have a relative, if you're going to an event where you have a relatively good chance of picking up a half decent result.
Yep.
Which, okay, if you take a dragon, you're going to have a better chance than if you had taken the same faction without a dragon. But you probably note vampire counts are up there. Don't see that many dragons in the vampire count list. Bretonnians are up there. Obviously, they have their own set of difficult things to deal with, but don't have any really big ridden monsters other than maybe the Pegasuses. So there's other things in there that suggest the game isn't sort of skewed massively. It's not like they've completely swung and missed, is it?
No.
And fundamentally, the game's so much fun to play.
Yeah, I've got the faction win rates up. Old World Rankings, great website if you are interested in stats, faction stats, player stats, all of that good stuff. You can find various tournaments that are going on in your area as well. So if we look at the global win rates, there isn't, and this is only factions with 10 or more appearances. This is across all data. The highest win rate is Tomb Kings, and their win rate is 49.6%. Just because ties are more prevalent in this game than there are in other Warhammer games. So sort of 50% is probably as high as things go realistically. Come on, Lewis, get your shit together. He's back. So, sub 50% is the highest win rate. And it does go down. Skaven, my beloved Skaven, is at 31.9. But if you take out Skaven, Lizardmen, and Ogres... okay, so if you take out the bottom 5, everything's between 40 and 50%. And then there are some real outliers. But yeah, I think the overall spread is pretty healthy. Can it be improved? Of course it can. It absolutely can be improved. But it's as Warhammer games go, not too bad, which is nice. And I think if we had these factions in the game as they stand, I think the win rate of the good armies and the win rate of the bad armies would stretch further apart over time as people got better at the game and better at using the tools that their army give you, and the worse armies having less to them. Got to remember, a lot of the players of those worse factions are playing by vibes as well. 100%. So this is an interesting statistic. In fact, no, let's not tell that story. That's one for another time. It's another 40k story, but there's no need for that. Anyway, so yeah, I think faction win rates not too bad. The game is in an okay spot. Obviously, can be improved. That is my general perspective on it. So then, over the past year, obviously we've been playing. You've had a lot of success with tournaments. You've been running them, and now you are running an Old World tournament basically every other month. I think there is a little bit of a gap in the middle, for obvious reasons. You're getting married. Congratulations.
Indeed, next week. It's very scary.
It's next week. Wait,
next weekend, yeah.
Huh. That's in my head. In my head, next week was your tournament, but it's the week after, right?
The week after, yeah.
Cool. Well, great, good stuff.
It's been amazing to get them off the ground, to be honest, because it's always going to be a smaller community than 40k. So I know.
Never say never.
Well, yeah, maybe not in the future, but currently it's a smaller community than 40k.
Yeah.
And that makes it, from a business perspective, difficult sometimes to decide whether you're going to invest in that sort of thing.
Of course.
So obviously with the wedding to pay for and the mortgage and all that sort of stuff, I need to make sure that what I'm doing is supporting that, because I've taken a different job that pays a lot less money, so I can use the events to supplement some of that income and try and have a bit of a blast with it.
Sure.
So the fact that people have picked up on it and are starting to attend, I've got 19 at the next one, which I'm really excited for. And what I was really keen to do as well is keep the vibe that I create in the 40k events and bring those across to Old World. Deliberately try and make more relaxed events, not going down the route of identical terrain on every board. Every board's going to do something a little bit different. It's going to be different to play on. Caring about sportsmanship and hobby. Not that other events aren't, but you know what I mean. That's very much what I'm trying to go for, rather than making a top-end competitive experience.
Sure.
With a view that even the best players in the world can come and still have a really good time and actually just kind of rediscover that love of the hobby.
Yeah.
And actually, people have come along and they've come straight into that vibe. They've come down to my level or up to my level, which depending on which way you look at it. And bring that chilled atmosphere across from other game systems, and seem at least to be having a really bit of a blast with what we're trying to do at my events. So that's been amazing to see. And as I say, a vote of confidence in itself is that I think I can get away with running one every other month and be in a position that we're going to sell enough tickets to cover the cost of the venues and get some good prizes and trophies, and then hopefully everyone has a good time.
Absolutely. Steve says, not invited to the wedding, don't want any Wayne's World 2 moments. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I obviously can't be trusted. No, really, it's like Mythbusters, where you've got your two hosts on TV, and you think that they must like each other, but actually they just don't have any relationship outside of the camera.
No, I have. It was one of these things.
Yeah.
Ed and I have already talked about this, so like we don't.
I wouldn't expect to be invited, to be clear.
Yeah, it's like once you invite one Warhammer person, where do you stop? Because obviously spend a lot of time with Ed, but also spend a fair bit of time with Alex.
Yeah.
Have some close friends in Patrick and Lucy and others from I play 40k with, loads of the Saffron guys, loads of the Cambridge guys. And suddenly it's like, how many of them are coming? And Flo's always keen. Flo has met Ed, so my fiance.
She's lovely. I don't know how you two ended up together.
Blind dumb luck on my part, and
We
blind
agree on
nurse
something.
on her part, I think. But yeah, we have a general rule where if both of us haven't met that individual.
Of course, yeah. And also, I don't think I wouldn't expect to be the first person from the team that you invited, especially at the time when wedding invites would have gone out.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Back then, we'd only just got started, so.
However,
we'd known each other from 40k, but we hadn't sort of.
Your
we'd
second
probably only met a
wedding,
couple of times.
When Flo realizes she can do better, I will accept. I'm not even going to finish that joke because I feel bad about saying it because she is really nice. To be clear, in this theoretical, she is leaving you, not the other way around.
Great. That makes me feel so much better, Ed. Thanks.
I'm not trying to make you feel better. I just felt guilty about saying things that might be negative about her. Anyway, I think we should move on from here. That's probably... there. We'll go from there. Something I have noticed is not only is this exactly on the date, 1 year from when the channel was created, it is also the 200th upload exactly, which is pretty wild. So that's cool.
For a week.
Yeah. Yeah, that has been a lot. And it's sort of ebbed and waned depending on when there's been stuff that's worth talking about. Because one of the things I don't really want to do is just churn out something that I don't think is good content. So, want to make sure it's something that's worth doing. And one of the nice things about doing the podcast and Fix My List stream is having those fortnightly or every 2 weeks for our American viewers bits of content. Means that I've got stuff locked in and I don't have to sit down and go for hours and be like, God, what am I doing now? Because you want to have consistent uploads, but you also don't want to have to force ideas.
Yeah. All
that stuff. That Rat Bastard says more. When content comes around, I've been obviously started from Empire Week. In fact, let's tell that story. There's another thing. So obviously there's the square-based guys. Val and Rob. I wouldn't say I know Val super well, but I've worked with him a little bit. I did content for the SBot 1 and 2. SBot 1 was just something I wanted to do. SBot 2, I talked about Val before going into it, and he said, just do the content, put it on your channel, because there were conversations about how potentially the best way to do that was, but we're not in a space where we've got a lot of time or effort to do things differently, so just put it on your channel, and that was fine. And I obviously did the camera and recording for both SBot 1 and SBot 2 finals. Here's a little bit of old trivia for you. I used to want to be an esports commentator. I used to watch a lot of League of Legends and CS2 as well, or CSGO, sorry. Something I really appreciated was the camera work. So something I tried to do when watching the Warhol games was have actual pan shots, try and show what's important, bring up the important information on the screen. And I think I did a solidly fine job at it. So I've worked with Val a bit. I like Val, and obviously have talked to him a bit with the Renegade stuff as well. Rob, I fucking love Rob. And this is more a case of I live close to Rob, so I see him more than Val. I'm not trying to say that I've got favourites, but I see Rob a lot. He is so lovely. He is one of the most genuinely nice human beings that I've ever met. He's always so concerned about everyone around him having a good time and being supported. I can't remember where I was going with this. Oh, yes, that was it. I was about to slate him. And something that I have told him, this is a story that I have relayed to him, is when they did their leaked Empire video where they got hold of the journal ahead of time, everyone in the Old World community around the world was like, oh, great, we get to see the Empire rules. And I think I was the only person in the world who went, shit, this is awful, because you want to be first to the punch, or at least close to first. You want it to go up about the same time as everyone else. And I had hold of the journal as well, but I didn't think it was going to be, going out anywhere near as quickly, so I wasn't prepared for it. And it was also the week before Christmas. So I had basically
a week of videos.
it was horrendous. So I think I want to say it was Tuesday morning or something like that when it came out. So I looked at this and went, right, I've just got to get my ass in gear because they've done the reveals. I've got to start recording. So I came home after work on Tuesday, recorded 2 videos, did the podcast with you, went to work Wednesday, came home, recorded another video, Thursday recorded another video, Friday did 2 videos and streamed, Saturday did a video, Sunday did 2 videos because we also had to record an episode of the podcast for when we were over Christmas. I wanted one to go up. I didn't want to drop the schedule, so we pre-recorded one there as well. It was a mad time in my life where I just didn't get very much sleep and I just recorded a lot. But that was the start of the video week when a new army comes out, and I'm kind of glad that it happened the way that it did, because I don't think I would have independently gone, oh, it's time to do an entire week of videos and streams about a new faction. But it did happen, and I really, really enjoyed doing it. So that's something that I'm intending to keep on doing, as long as it doesn't happen when I'm in Melle, in Germany, come September. God, I hope there's no, releases that line up on that week. That would. But yeah, that was how the week of videos about a new faction came to be. But it was funny because I told him that, and he immediately apologized to me. I was like, don't apologize. We are. I don't think he sees it this way, obviously, because he's way bigger. But to an extent, we are competitors in that. Yeah. You want to be friendly with everyone, but also, like, I wouldn't want him to stymie his growth for my benefit. That wouldn't be right at all. I'm not looking for that. 100%. So if there's something like that where he's got the scoop and he can go first, hell yeah, go for it. Sucks for me, but that's not his problem. That's my problem. I just gotta, hustle to keep up. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate that. And just a couple of comments about how Rob is lovely. Yeah, it really is. He's so nice.
Yeah, I've been to one TSN event, but he wasn't there.
No,
so
that was
I've never actually met the
unfortunate.
guy.
Yeah, I think he's in Canada at the moment as well. Because I'm.
I'll have to. I need to book into another one. I need. We spoke about it before the last Saffron event, but I was like, once the wedding's out of the way,
and you did use that wording, and I did report you to slow for that wording. I'm a righteous
I would like to go to more events. I want to go to another TSN event. I want to go to one of the London events that Nick Boucher runs with Pip.
That'd be cool.
They're supposed to be really cool events, so I want to get to one of those. I did get a chance to go to the Canterbury one, so that's good. I'd like to go to the one in Colchester as well. Scott McHugh, he seems to be running events that get lots and lots of people as well, so keen to get to one of those. So
while we're doing shout outs, also the Black Country GT that Sam Freestone runs, that seems to be a really good event, and it's never lined up for me to be able to go, which is a bummer. And then also Forgotten North look like they run some pretty great events as well. Not biased because half of them are my teammates, but shout out to those guys as well. Definitely check them. It's oh, thank you, Anthony. See if that comes through. There we go. TTS is caught up.
Happy 1 year. Wishing you more power. Would there be any GT in Asia? Or just any event at all? He please, haha.
I'd love there to be events more worldwide. I think so. Generally, I think Cathay will lead to an increase in interest in China specifically, but obviously over here in the UK we have limited scope for events out in Asia. or outside the country at all. So it might be a case of be the change you want to see, Anthony. Maybe you should run the first big event, or maybe there are events that are being run out there that we just don't know about. It is hard to find communities if you're not in them, but I would trawl Facebook, or I don't know if any specific countries have specific social media that aren't more Western focused. Maybe there's specific groups on there that you'd be able to find people running events, running GTs, that sort of stuff. But yeah, they're a lot of fun, and if there aren't any, you get started. You could be the one to make the change. It's only a massive pain in the arse to start off, but once you've got all the terrain and the location and everything set up, once you've got the initial bump done, I'm sure it's pretty simple to keep them going. He keeps doing
yeah
it, so
I don't know what country you're based in, Anthony, but I know if you're talking about China, we've got a guy that runs events in Beijing in our Discord. So if you're after Chinese events, you can probably find him in there.
I'm really sorry. I can't 100% remember, and he has mentioned it before. I think it's the Philippines, and I'm really sorry if I'm wrong. But yes.
So yeah, we are so blessed in the UK. I think we can be conscious of our privilege about the amount of events that we've got.
Mate, there are 3 big events happening this weekend.
Mad, isn't it?
they all seem pretty, well sold out. That's a good point. Matthew says maybe worth checking in with the Australians. Yeah, that's easier to commute to than coming here to the UK. Although if you do come to the UK, do give me a shout. It'd be nice to meet the international fans as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. That rat bastard, I must watch or listen to every Old World YouTube video. Blessed curse with a job that can have something on in the background at all times. Yes. Yeah, I do enjoy having my hobby stuff in the background. Although because I'm doing Warhammer all the time, I actually listen to a lot of non-Warhammer stuff to keep me sane and give me a little bit of it. If I was just doing Warhammer only, I think I'd shrivel up and have no thoughts left.
You'd start growing a square base.
Yes, truly. My chair, I looked down actually earlier, and my desk chair had developed a square base. It was weird. So yeah, I think this is something that we could sit and chat about forever. But there are also quite a lot of questions, and I'd like to get through all the questions because I do appreciate.
You're right. I do have one more thing. If that's okay,
go ahead.
This is just a purely personal shout out for our local area. In this last year, not really Old World related, but we have set up the Saffron Walden Warhammer Club. Mm-hmm. And in terms of being the change you want to see, as you say, Ed, getting a club set up is one of the best things you can do, I think, for your local community. It has brought so many people in our little town out of the woodwork that I hadn't met before or didn't know that they existed, or people that were just playing in a little group of 3 or 4 and didn't ever kind of travel outside of that group, to be there in the pub every week, although I haven't been for the last few weeks. But that's also amazing in that I've set a club up and now it just kind of runs itself. I don't have to be there every single week. Absolutely. Which is great. And to be that, and then the Saffron Slammers, who are our little kind of fun 40k and Old World team, the financial support that they've put into the club as well, like giving donations and things like that, including a couple of people that have put sort of £100+ quid in to buy tables and mats and terrain and stuff for the club. It's been amazing, and to have that as a sort of achievement from 2024, I think is something that we could all be proud of. So yeah, well done, Saffron Slammers. Now we can go on to the questions.
Yeah. Jordan says bonus points for being in a pub. This isn't actually a close order stream. This is an intervention, Jordan. We are all here because we're concerned about you. Jordan, one of the VIPs, so not too out of pocket to say. Anthony says, planning to watch the World Cup event in Germany. Hope to see you there. Hell yeah, do come and say hi. Ideally, like if you see me at events, please do come and say hi. Ideally not when I'm mid-game because I get pretty locked in and I want to focus, but outside of the games, if I'm on lunch, if I'm just chatting, please do come and say hi. It'd be lovely to meet more people.
You do now charge for autographs, though, don't you, Ed?
I've never been asked for an autograph. Maybe I've been asked once, actually. I can't remember off the top of my head. maybe that's the side hustle I should go for. Jordan says, I'll continue to rate ales in the VIP section. You can't stop me. I can't, and I wouldn't. There is even a homebrewed liquid section of the Discord, which happened by accident, but occasionally people will post their concoctions, and sometimes people have posted bread in there, which I'm like, fair enough. It's got yeast in, that's fermenting in a way. I can live with that. So let's go on to the questions. The first one from Callum: if there's one thing you would do differently over the last year in relation to Warhammer, what would it be? And you've mentioned paint scheme. Is there anything else that you would change specifically?
Well, I think what that would have led to is me going to more events, and I would have loved to have done more of that. I hopefully rectify that this year, but now I've got a finished army, because I know that it's just so much fun. I love doing it, and it's just one of the best plays to play Warhammer. So, that's what I'd do more of.
Hell
And
yeah.
yourself?
I don't know. So the obvious thing I could say is start playing competitively earlier, but I think I really enjoyed the more casual lean into it. I really liked that. So I don't know that I'd want to change things up in that way.
I think it's an important part of the learning experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
To start to get feel for your old world play style and what sort of units you like using and you don't like using, and
Sure.
being part of it. Maybe printing all of those high elves was a mistake, but I guess you're using them now.
Well,
I suppose.
no, I'm not actually. I gave them away to a friend who I am getting into Old World. He's just waiting for a few things to change before he fully commits, but they are in good hands. So I don't think there's much I'd change. Maybe move to doing streaming earlier, because I really enjoy the interaction with live streaming, and it was a lot of effort to pre-record all of the videos that I was doing. So now that I'm doing some pre-recorded videos and some streaming, that feels like a healthier balance just for me in terms of where I'm at. Hey, wasn't expecting you here. That is Craig, my friend, who I gave the high elves to, and I'm going to play.
When are we going to see you, Craig? The mysterious Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll have to get him on and do one of those videos that I really enjoyed making, but they're hard to line up. Whereas you get someone who doesn't play the game and get them to rate units. That's a lot of fun to do, which does key into a question that we've got later. But so maybe that'll be something we should do. June-ish maybe. He is planning on playing, but there's just some time scale involved, and that's fine. Ed says, what's your favourite flavour of wax? Ed is nuts, I think it's fair to say. I do sometimes wonder what's going on in that man's head. And
Are you okay, Ed? I think my favourite flavour of wax, ear.
No, earwax is vile. And I can say that confidently because I'm a man, and thus that I have tried.
Is it worse than candle wax, though?
I probably did try it when I was like 8 or 12, but I have a distinct understanding of what that earwax taste is. So it's not earwax. Don't lie to me. You know what earwax tastes like as well. I'm just being honest about it. And because the audience is something like 99.5% male, I think all of you also know what earwax tastes like as well. Cool. What is your favorite lyric? Now this one's difficult.
This one goes deeper.
Yeah. So I don't know that I have a favorite lyric. I'm not super sentimental in that way, although I don't typically cry like watching films or anything. I don't cry like that. But if the thing that does tug on heartstrings for me is emotional music. So that would be in that sort of vein, I guess. For me, that when I read that, for some reason, the Jarvis Crocker "Time in a Bottle" song came to mind. I don't know why. I read that and I heard it in my head. So I guess that song, the intro to "Time in a Bottle."
Yeah. I've probably got two that spring to mind for different reasons. Frank Turner's Photosynthesis, great song. There's a line in it that, if I'm quoting correctly, if all you ever do with your life is photosynthesize, then you deserve every hour of your sleepless nights that you waste wondering when you're going to die. For someone like me, I did probably not said this, but I struggle with sleep quite a lot. Not very good at sleeping. And I end up with my head going to weird places at like 2 a.m. when I can't sleep. So I've always kind of come back to that. And it's probably something that gives me that stupid amount of energy that I seem to have during the day.
Yeah.
To just get shit done and just be flat out and everything that I do. But that's probably it. On a slightly more cheery note, maybe then.
And I think you might be gone.
Never made anybody less gay. Oh, can you hear me?
I don't know if that was me breaking up there or you.
Who knows?
Who